President Trump designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. That is tremendous news. It's something that I've been advocating for a long time. There is no country on earth where Christians are more persecuted than Nigeria. Since 2009, more than 50,000 Christians have been murdered by Boko Haram and radical Islamic extremists. More than 20,000 churches and schools have been burned to the ground. I introduced legislation to direct the administration to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. President Trump has done that. Thank you, President Trump. We're going to keep the fight going.
Rufai said what he's saying based on what is happening, but sometimes you don't talk to American people the way you talk to Nigerian news. Yes, so 12 governors sponsoring tourism in Nigeria are exposed. Like, they are really exposing them. And it, see, hey, anyways, let me read the reaction before I leave the video for you to watch. This Rufai they play for this matter. You think this is politics, Abi? Americans should tell you how they get the names, Abi, and what it is based on. You think they have your time? And this person say, Rufai, you know that Tinubu will not do anything. As soon as there is no pressure on him, Tinubu will relax and start his usual useless trips abroad. Nigerians should insist on the immediate creation of state police so that we don't live our life to Tinubu's to West. It makes a point there. A very good news from America. Thank you, America, because we are being crushed in Nigeria. Americans should also release Tinubu's criminal record committed in the USA. That we long been waiting for. And this person said, how did you expect a criminal to fight a criminals? Tinubu is a criminal and has nothing to offer Nigerian other than launting. So what? Let's see what will happen when the names are released. Bring it on. Abati is looking for a coordinated response for whose interest. Anyway, a coordination comes to arrange bribe. That is the best management technique of Tinubu, or then they call it Tifibu nowadays. So Rufai in Nigeria is guilty before innocent, and now Americans seem to be playing by the same rules with this tourism sympathizing. Anyways, without me talking much, I will leave the full video for you to watch. It's still your girl in the building, U2 Media. We talked about what is trending, latest news. We talked about, we react to a lot of videos, and I believe that you're going to love it here. Peace and love always.
On his X account that accompanied this video, he also shared a statement, and that read, I've been pushing for legislation to designate Nigeria as a CPC and to impose sanctions on the Nigerian officials responsible. Thank you to President Trump for his leadership in imposing the designation and, more broadly, for fighting to stop the murder of Christians in Nigeria. Now we should take the next step and hold Nigerian officials accountable. I intend to be very explicit about who they are in the coming days and weeks. Gang, gang. Rufai, you were saying you hope your name is not on the list. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. What's your take on this? Yes, I know.
It's Nigerian politicians that will be asking now that, hey, hope my name is not on the list. Hope my name is my asset in America. Hope my name is not on the list. Little wonder that we are really here, even the debate. Someone say, don't talk about Trump. Don't talk about Trump in the past. But the truth is, the question will be, it's not just about naming names. What basis will he be naming those names? Are they going to also bring out the empirical research? Because we also run the risk of naming names out of vendetta. And it's not today politicians have been named in all of this insecurity. But some politicians have come out to say, oh, it's out of vendetta. So we would like to see based on the intelligence. So for me, it's not about the naming of names, which I wanted Cruz to name. Because it's not today we're having names. What about the names that were released in Dubai of terrorist financiers? What happened? We didn't get anything out of it. So if these names can come out, yes. But also the research behind the names, the intel. So America can release that credible intel so we can see it. But if you are just naming names and all of that, I don't think that's the way to go. We must also see the research and the rigor and the knowledge system behind it. Because, and by, a lot of people have died. And we have no idea what it means to lose somebody that ought not to die. There are many cases. People have called me in the middle of the night for kidnapping and the like, and so many things like that. For killings, I mean, across this country. For Zabaramari farmers, there's lots happening. And people must be made to account for it. But most importantly, like I argue, apart from the calisthenics of the West and their own interests, we should solve that problem internally. Vimba, Nigeria has the capacity. We are ECOMOG. We shelled out $15 billion to defend other African countries and bring peace to Liberia. The peace in Liberia today, the peace in Sierra Leone, Nigeria did it. Why can't we do it for ourselves?
Very well said. I think it comes down to the fundamental issue that the killings must stop, the insecurity must be tackled head on, and we all need to be unified in how we decide to approach that and do that in a very effective and quick way. Well, in related news, there was a mild drama in the Nigerian Senate when the Deputy Senate President Barau Jibrin criticized US President Donald Trump, insisting that Nigeria is a sovereign state and that he, Jibrin, is not afraid of Trump. Well, this followed a perceived reluctance of the Senate President to speak on Trump's threat of military intervention in Nigeria. Well, let's take a look.
Don't be scared. I can see.
I said
I'm not scared of Trump. I will say my mind.
President or a country be scared?
I'm a Nigerian. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. I'm a parliamentarian. I'm a deputy senate president. I can speak on behalf of Nigeria. I'm not scared of Trump.
But do not allow others to speak for you.
Don't be scared of Trump.
Get
you
something.
can say your mind about Trump.
Get something.
We are a sovereign nation.
But get something. Don't allow people to ascribe what you did not say to you.
Did you wrong, but you didn't say it. That's correct. You didn't say it.
Yes.
But when
what
you
I'm
decide to
saying
say,
is that
you shouldn't be scared of saying anything.
No. If you want me to say it now, I will try to say.
We are not scared of Trump.
I will say, but then listen.
We are a sovereign nation. We are not scared of Trump.
Clark, please delete what the Deputy Senate President has said. He spoke out of tune. You are not hearing what I'm saying. I'm saying this time the Senate President of Nigeria did not answer President Trump, and then that the quotation is meant to cause diplomatic row. It is the presidency that will answer President Trump.
Clark, delete what you wrote about those statements. Well, let's find out what people had to say on social media. Most people took it in a very laughable way, but let's take a look at Sir Says, I believe is pronounced, who says intense exchange in the Senate highlights tension between defending national sovereignty and managing diplomatic narratives. Akpabio's caution contrasts sharply with Barau's bold stance, a classic clash of protocol versus principle. Well, that's quite an intelligent take. Cortigo also came and said, now everyone is talking. Now we are acting like people are dying, not the silence we've been having all this while. Just a tweet from Trump did all this. Go and fix the insecurity. It is not to be shouting sovereign country up and down. Then lastly, on a more humorous note, Big Fave said, Akpabio be like, no be me when I go put for problem. He doesn't want to join us name in it. Dr. Abati, your take on these issues.
No, this is my view. I think both senators are right. Yesterday, Ayo here was talking about the need for a coordinated response from government so that we don't have people either talking across purposes or a cacophony, of voices on the particular matter. And I think that is the basic principle. Now, I think it's unfortunate that up to this point, we don't see that, coordinated response. Even if the Nigerian government, through the Minister of Information, through the presidency itself, through also Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister Yusuf Tuga, have said, look, Nigeria is not a country of religious persecution. What we need is this coordinated response. The second point is that we've also had the advice from people saying there is need for caution so that it doesn't look like we are, provoking further Mr. Trump or that we are, being confrontational. This same Trump that has threatened that he will put boots on the ground. So, there are some people who may want to be very cautious. However, the lawmakers, whether in the Senate or the House of Representatives, they are representatives of the people. And so, in that regard, Senator Jibrin Barau is also right to say, well, I'm representing the people of a certain constituency. And we do not think that Donald Trump should dictate our sovereignty. And I think, you know, he has the right, he's entitled, because the people in the National Assembly, they are representing Nigerians. And they have the right to speak up for their constituents and to express a particular view. So to that extent, he's right. The Senate chairman is saying he was quoted in some papers as having said something. And he said, no, he has not said anything. You know, you can now moralize and say, well, the Senate president, who is chairman of the National Assembly, you think he should have an opinion. But if he says, no, we should be cautious, let the presidency lead the debate. Maybe he's just waiting for the presidency to take certain steps. He may be privy to certain information, and he does not want to use his chair as chairman of the National Assembly to make statements. So to that extent, I would say both men, you know, are right from wherever they are coming from. But the Nigerian people will expect that the representatives of the people, in fact, the National Assembly, as a body, can also take a position and advise the presidency on this matter. But, you know, if caution is the word, and you can see that even the Nigerian government is not confronting Trump directly. Yeah. They are just saying we are willing to cooperate, you know, whoever wants to work with us, we will work with them. The advice of the elder, Professor Akinyemi, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself should not confront Trump. So, I mean, they have all the intelligence. They are, you know, in the seat. So they will formulate the best kind of response. And probably they are using back channels, you know, something they may not come in public to say to people. So it's about information that is available from where you are, you know, within the spectrum.
Just remind us of what happened in Owo, Ondo State at the St. Francis Xavier Church on the 5th of June, 2022, which was Pentecost Sunday, when a group of Islamist militants came and attacked the church immediately after the Mass ended.
I mean, you have to understand doctrinally, the jihadists will actually tell you that in Islam there's only one God, and it's shirk to associate any God with that single one God. And for us in the Catholic Church as Christians, we have one God, but God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. And so Pentecost is actually a day of that celebration. So when they attack, they are also attacking not just physically, but your own ideological understanding of what God is. And so they were having this service, you know, and it is so sad that they had to enter this church and massacre, you know, these people that have died and be killed. So we keep praying for the family, and we hope that after 3 years, the government should respond really to these people who have been affected by the violence.
So they bombed the church, they shot at people, killing 41 of them, wounding more than 100 people. They then went away. What have you, as part of the bigger Catholic Church, been hearing from the government in terms of apprehending the attackers? We understand the authorities say they've arrested in that 3-year period about 5 of them, but up till now, 3 years later, nobody has appeared in court.
I mean, in Nigeria generally, that is actually the culture of impunity. You know, or it's not the only incident. A lot of incidents have happened. Killings have happened, even in churches and in mosques. But most times, people are actually not held accountable. And that has created the space and emboldened the jihadists to continue to massacre and to kill people in the way and manner, you know, they have done. And I think that has gone beyond religion and even ideology to a point that where we have now the political economy of conflict, the kidnapping, the banditry, and it's going to be tough for people to give that up, particularly when they are making so much money. In a context that unemployment is so high, young people have no jobs, and therefore kidnapping and making money has become a very big currency. So we are still asking on the government how to end the culture of impunity from top to bottom. I think will be very important. And the situation of Oyo is not the only one. You go to Zamfara, you go to Taraba, a lot of people have been attacked and killed, and no one is actually held accountable. And even in certain cases, you find where the government has what we call the de-radicalization and rehabilitation cases, where perpetrators are supposed to be rehabilitated and reintegrated back into society, while victims are in IDP camps living on handouts and relief materials. And so that is quite contradictory, and I think it's something that the government have to have a rethink about, and to see how we can rejig the situation.
And just in terms of the people of war and all the other people that you've been talking about, how they might be recovering from the attack. You talked about a lot of them in IDP camps and so on and so forth. I mean, one imagines that the psychological wounds must still be very deep, and it is something of a long road to recovery for those who actually survived that attack, and there's no programs for them to recover.
Absolutely. You look at Owo, you look at Dogon Hawa in Plateau State, you look at Zakibiam in Benue State, you look at Kizara in northern parts of the country, and even some of the situation that happened in Bayelsa. A lot of those young boys who were affected, probably they were 7, 5, 4 years, now 15, 20 years down the line, they are adults. And no psychological attention has been given to that. And that's why the highest level of drug consumption, particularly among young people, on how to deal with the psychological impact of what they have gone through, is happening in most of these conflict-infested areas. So I think that just beyond Owo is entirely a national strategy and a national problem. So we have to find not just the physical, rehabilitation of people, but also the psychological attention that we should give. Otherwise, we end up with a whole generation of young people that are psychologically broken. And therefore, the sort of contribution that they can make to the social condition of this country could become really very difficult.
Very important point. And does that road to recovery feel even longer because of the perception that nothing has been done to address the injustices that these people have had to face?
There are accumulation of grievances in this country, either against individuals, against institutions, against the government. Why? Because these conflicts happen and nothing is done. And then the society moves on as if everything is okay. So it's really going to be a very, very big problem. How do we overcome that? At the Kuka Center, we try to provide community engagement. And one of the things that is missing, really, is just like what happened in Gachacha, Rwanda, the Gachacha project, where simply people come and sit down and tell the truth and onboarding what has been in their mind, just bring out all the poison that has been accumulated over the years and tell their own stories. I will give an example. Myself and Bishop Kuka, when we started this program, we were in Maiduguri just to speak to victims. And one of the women said, even if you bring back my son, who is a member of Boko Haram, I won't forgive him because he killed his father and his own brothers in my presence for not believing in his own brand of Islam. And a lot of families are living with these stories, but they don't have the platform.
There's no outlet.
There's no outlet to even share really what is happening. And I think for us, it's a very, very serious problem. If you look at people, these institutions like NIM Foundation, run by Akilu, Dr. Akilu, these are the sort of interventions that they are offering. So beyond relief materials, beyond physical rebuilding of houses, the mental recovery of the person is much more important. And I think that we can only do our best, but the government really has to step up too.
And as you said, beyond Owo and some of the other places that you mentioned, there are numerous other attacks that don't even make the headlines.
Absolutely.
In other places in Nigeria, in churches and so on, in recent years. But when President Trump talks about an existential threat to Nigeria's Christian population, how do you respond to that?
Technically, we don't want to lay too much emphasis on the technical definition of genocide. I think the most important thing is that lives are being lost. And let us deal with what Trump has not said, rather than what he has said. Trump didn't say Christians are killing Muslims or Muslims are killing Christians. Trump did not say he is coming to fight Muslims in Nigeria. We believe that the jihadists and the terrorists are killing both Christians and Muslims. And so if the intention of the Trump government is to come into this country to take out the terrorists. I think all of us as citizens will eventually, benefit actually from that.
Because the fact is that the government isn't succeeding in doing it.
For 15 years, government after government, nothing has been done. And I think people are tired of the conflict. Sometimes I go to my local church here for Mass every Sunday. I have to carry with me bags, of food items, because the church is filled with people who probably are IDPs that run away from this conflict, and you cannot preach in the name of Jesus and then walk away, leaving them in the same hunger and the same social condition. And I think that it's really very serious, and people are really tired. I am happy. Really, I was mentioning to Bishop Cook, and he told me, you know what, this period for Nigeria is a God-given period. It's a period for us to have the most difficult conversations that we have always avoided in the history of this country. So, for example, should Nigeria have two sets of law, the Constitution and the Sharia? Why can't we have one and all of us comply with that set?
Especially when this country claims to be a secular
Absolutely. Country. So it's an important period. It's like we are all having a virtual conversation across the country. In the market, online, offline, people are really talking about this issue. And the risk we run is actually that this period may just come and pass as a very normal thing, and no strategic decision is taken as to how we can come out of the woods. So it's important we have this very difficult conversation.
I think a lot of people will agree with you. The bishop, of course, in charge of Owo Catholic Diocese, Bishop Jude Arogundade, has said that he shares President Trump's sentiment and that anyone who says otherwise is not being honest. And obviously his parishioners, his people in his diocese are the people who got slaughtered. Do you agree with him?
I agree, because, look, when I was a student in SOAS, University of London, I used to produce documentaries.
That's the School of Oriental and African Studies,
right? I had my PhD in conflict and terrorism. And I used to travel to border areas to produce documentaries. One of the places I went to was a place called Lukti in southern Adamawa, between Cameroon and Adamawa.
And you're from Adamawa State?
I'm from Adamawa State.
Right.
And you just need 30 minutes to walk into Cameroon. There were IDPs, thief people who were affected by this conflict. First, from Benue, they came to Taraba. Then from Taraba, they ran to Adamawa, and Adamawa at the border with Cameroon. And they call it ungoverned space. But of course, they are governed by other jihadists and terrorists. And they had to rent out land in order to farm. And even when they harvest, they have to pay a tax for them to be allowed to take their goods, to the market. They are literally at the mercy of non-state actors. And it is all over. So we need help in this country. We need help. But we still want to respect our sovereignty. But if this help will come to stop the killing, to stop the violence, I think for me is really a welcome development, because every single life in this country really matters.
Absolutely. And there are those who say that the present situation of many Christians, as well as Muslims, calls for much more concerted government action, which is pretty much what you were saying, and that the government must be called to account for the lives that have been lost and for not doing anything concrete to address that situation.
I think even we lack data, we lack information. And we need to disaggregate this conflict and identify all, the types of conflicts that are existing, the nature, the flavor, and how people, are being killed. But it's true, the government really has to do something, but particularly how to look after the victims and people who have been affected, by this conflict. We hope and we pray that something really will come out of this situation. Otherwise, the situation is very serious.
Indeed. And President Trump talked about American troops. Would you welcome American troops in Nigeria, or would that be a step too far?
I'm not a military person. I don't know how. My younger brother was in the army. He was killed in Baga, And I think for me, welcoming the troops, does it mean really fighting? Or does it mean helping with building the capacity of our own soldiers and helping us with weapons? I think I would prefer, the latter. That they come, they support us, they build capacity, they provide intelligence. Because otherwise, the reaction I don't know how the reaction will end. Because you can see that China has already reacted. We are going to stand with Nigeria. We don't know what the Middle East, how they will react. And we even don't know how the jihadists themselves will react. You also hear the stories that they have surrounded Bamako, and they are likely going to take Mali, and maybe the whole of Sahel, and the contestation between Al-Qaeda and ISIS, you know, with Boko Haram and the Jamaat Nasrul Islam wal Muslimin. So we don't want to get caught up, because the Americans had...
It could get very messy.
Messy. They were in Afghanistan, they were in Iraq. Look at the result of eventually what has happened. I think it has to be an engagement and a very strategic negotiation between the Nigerian government and the American government. And they should reach an area, you know, where there's some sort of an agreement. But I don't want us also to dwell too much on the physical violence. There are non-physical issues, unwritten laws that people really actually go through. So, for example, the taking off of missionary schools. Can they return these schools? The refusal to help us build places of worship for certain faiths in federal institutions, for example. So I think for me, these are all issues to be discussed. There are certain places in northern Nigeria, if you are not a Muslim, you cannot become a traditional ruler. These issues must be...
There are some ways that a certain person does not want to see it on social media, and he was like, "Clark, delete that thing that this person said that he's saying it out of proportion." Anyway, you watch the video and then you watch up to this point. I mean, you are the best, like you are the most very, very important person. And do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and then turn on your post notification bell so that you get notified each time we drop a new video. It's still your girl in the building, you and to media. It's all about latest movies, entertainment, celebrity reaction videos, and all of those good stuff. See you in my next video. Peace and love always.